Hi there, Joe.
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
How are you?
Chilly morning up here in Bathurst this morning.
Beautiful Bathurst, yeah.
It's a beautiful sunny day. Looking forward to kind of getting out there and having a chat to some people in the community around over on Black Springs.
Yeah, very good. So why don't we introduce the project? What's the Pines and who are we?
Yeah, good question, and it's a question that we've been getting a lot in all the conversations we've been having out and about in and around the Pines Wind Farm site. So the Pines Wind Farm at this stage is just a proposal. We're kind of 8 weeks into the investigations phase of the project, and we'll talk a bit more about exactly what that means a little later. But to start off with, it's good just to introduce who is part of the project. So I'll talk about forestry, and if you'd like, you can talk about TAG and Stromlo.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Joe. I work for Stromlo Energy, which is the local development partner, 100% Australian-owned company. And we're the development partner to TAG Energy, who received the investigations permit from Forestry Corporation. So we're working in partnership with TAG Energy, and they will be responsible for construction and operations of the wind farm should it go ahead. And we're responsible for doing the planning and investigations work prior to that.
Yeah, and the design work. So all the early and big project decisions are kind of sitting first with Stromlo and then in partnership with TAG Energy. And Forestry Co, so they can kind of be thought of kind of in the traditional sense of a wind farm, almost like a project landowner. So they've run a tender, they've selected the Pines Wind Farm team to have an opportunity to investigate a project on their estate. And that's kind of what we're at the very start of doing.
That's right, and I think that's a really good point. The investigations phase is really about that, investigating the possibility of a wind farm on the particular parts of the Forestry Corporation land that was made available to us. So that's part of.
And it's not all of the forest, is it, Joe?
That's right. No, so we're 15 kilometres away from Oberon Township, so we're not coming any closer than that. And we're looking at parts of Gurnang State Forest, Vulcan State Forest, and the Mount David State Forest.
And importantly, for people in Black Springs, the state forest, the plantation state forest that's just on the other side of Abercrombie Road from Black Springs, is not part of the investigation area. So we've got no rights to investigate a project in the forest that's adjacent to the Black Springs township.
Exactly. And I think also something that's come up recently is this maybe a little confusion around the word permit. So investigation permit really just means that we have the right to investigate. It doesn't mean that we have a right to build any wind farms just yet, does it? So that will be a New South Wales state-run process, and that takes about 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it's probably a good segue for us to start talking about the different project phases. So we're in the investigations phase at the moment, aren't we, Joe? And that's kind of 3 to 6 months that's going to take. And we're doing a lot of community outreach in that time just to understand community perspectives on the project and get input on project design. But there's a few other things that we're doing in this first 3 to 6 months.
That's right. So we're also looking at early ecological studies just to understand a bit more about what kind of features are in the region in terms of the ecology.
And that's like birds, that's bats,
that's local, maybe a few ground-based surveys. And then in addition to that, we're also looking at starting our early wind monitoring campaign. So looking to install what's called a meteorological mast, or a MET mast for short, which really measures the wind at different heights.
Yeah, okay. And during that first 3 to 6 months, at some stage during that period, we're going to be able to kind of develop and release publicly the first turbine layout for discussion with the community as well.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you reckon that looks like, and what's the timing around that, do you think?
Yeah, so that'll be in the investigations period. So that'll be in this first 3 to 6 month period. Certainly before the end of the year, we'll have the first turbine layout delivered for discussion. And just to remind everyone, that's still very early in the project process. The whole point of releasing a turbine layout like this, as early as we are in the project, is just to get feedback on that and then make further changes to it as we go as well. Right. And so it's probably, that gets us to kind of the end of 2024. And if we decide to proceed with the project from there, then we're going to move into the next stage, which is the permitting phase. So do you want to just take us through kind of how long that takes, Joe, and what's involved in permitting for a wind farm project?
Sure. So the planning and permitting phase is about 3 to 5 years in total. and that involves a lot of detailed studies. So that can involve visual impact studies, noise impact studies, really detailed ecology. So we'll be going out for 2 years straight or more in a seasonal basis. So every season will be covered in terms of flora and fauna investigations. We're also looking at things like aviation studies, Aboriginal heritage studies, traffic and transport route studies, and many, many more studies.
There's like 30 studies or something that go
it's
into
going
a
to be a
planning
huge
permit
report,
application.
very detailed, and that's just why it takes such a long time as well, because we need to really refine.
And so how long does it take?
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years for
Yeah.
a permit.
So
isn't
that
it?
could take us to the end of the 2020s. By the time we potentially have a decision on this project from a permitting point of view. So this process goes through New South Wales government, so New South Wales DPHI, I believe they're now.
Yeah, what's that? Do you remember? Little
Planning,
memory test?
Housing and Infrastructure, I think.
Yeah, okay, well done.
They changed their name recently. And so there's going to be a lot more wind monitoring. There's just going to be a whole lot of studies that need to feed into what's called an environmental impact statement, which is submitted to the New South Wales government for their assessment and potential approval. So there's a lot to do, and throughout that time, importantly, we're going to continue to consult with the community to refine the design. So again, the one that you'll see at the end of the year is not the final design. There's going to be a lot more work going into that, and we'll update that layout based on the findings of those
Yeah,
studies.
exactly right. The project design is going to refine itself over and over and over again, I think, over the course of the next few years, if we proceed that far.
That's right. So it's a real iterative process, isn't it? And I guess, do you want to talk about how potential neighbours could get involved?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we want to talk to everyone in the community, and we've got a real focus on those people who are within probably 4 to 5 kilometres of the investigations area. I mean, we want to talk to everyone though, so if anyone wants to get in contact with us, the best way to do that is the email address. So that's contact@thepineswindfarm.com.au, and then we can organise a meeting. We can come out and see you at your convenience as well, which is I think the best way to do
That's
those
right.
meetings.
Well, feel free to jump on our website. So that's thepineswindfarm.com.au. We've also got a contact form there, or a feedback survey if you prefer to share your feedback in that format.
And a newsletter you can sign up to.
A newsletter, and also we've got a Facebook page. So if you'd like to look at that for updates, we're always posting news updates on that. So yeah, feel free to choose the medium that suits you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We're just going to touch quickly, I think, talk about the phases after permitting if the project makes it that far, and it's still a big if. We're not the decision makers on the project.
That's
So after permitting, construction would be the next step after that. That's a 2 to 4 year process, and I think it's fair to say that that's the time that there is the biggest kind of impact in terms of traffic movements and all the rest that goes on with construction. I think we're going to do another recording just to talk specifically about construction and what's involved, because it is such a big job when it happens. So that's 2 to 4 years. Operations is what, 35?
35 plus years. And then there's a number of options what could happen after 35 years, one of them being decommissioning. So TAG, as the future wind farm owner and operator, they would be responsible for decommissioning the project if that is the option. But what's the other option that could happen?
Yeah, I'll just touch on decommissioning for a second, because there's been a lot of questions about decommissioning as we've been having conversations with the community, decommissioning and recycling. So currently it's 85% of the components within a wind farm that can be recycled. And when we're working with kind of the big manufacturers, they're moving towards commitments really well and truly before the end of the life of this project, where they're moving to 100% recycling of wind turbine components, including wind turbine blades. And there's all sorts of things that you can do there, and if you get online you can have a look. So crush up the fiberglass into concrete. And I'm actually even wearing a pair of shoes today where the soles are made out of crushed up wind turbine blades. So there's a lot of applications that you can use to get to a fully circular recycling of a wind turbine.
Excellent. And a lot of the steel that's in the turbine tower also has a lot of residual value, so there's a lot of uses for that.
Yeah, exactly right. And all of the contracts that we have, whether it's with private landowners or it's with Forestry Co, we're required to have a decommissioning bond that's set aside. That the company actually doesn't have access to. So that's kind of set aside separately. So whatever happens with the project, whether it's sold or anything happens to the project, that money is always set aside so that there's enough to decommission the project, whatever happens. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point to get out there as well.
That's right. So the host landholders of our projects, they're not responsible for decommissioning at all. It's definitely the owner and operator, and that's, as you said, captured in a variety of documents like the contracts that we have with hosts, but also the planning permit should that go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then the question of money. So we always set aside money for decommissioning. That's kind of in a bank account that's other than ours, so that can always happen no matter what the future holds.
Yeah, very good. And so what's the other option that happens if the project isn't decommissioned? I mean, I guess there's the option to go again, as they say.
Yeah, repower the site. That's the good thing about renewable energy sites is that you're not running out of a coal seam or anything like that, or a gas reserve. In 35 years from now, the wind is still going to be blowing just as strongly as it is now over Vulcan and Gurnang and Mount David State Forests. And so there's an opportunity to repower the site and replace the turbines with new turbines.
All right. Sorry.
Oh no, fire away, Joe.
Why don't we talk about what we have done to date? So last week we had a really good second session in terms of community consultation. Do you want to have a
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to see so many people come along to the Oberon library and kind of meet with us with kind of open minds and listen to what we have to say. And we learned a lot as well, I think, about the community in Oberon in particular at that community open day. But there's more that's coming up as well. So we've got a drop-in session at Burriga. Just looking at my notes here quickly.
On the 6th of August, I believe.
That's right.
In the evening, so I think that's 6:30 to 9 p.m.
That's what I've got. That's what I've got here as well. And we're going to be at the Burriga Sheep Show when that's on as well.
Right,
we'll have a stall there if anyone wants to drop in and say hello. And again, just to repeat, if you want to organise a meeting with us, contact at the Pines Wind Farm is the easiest way to get on to us.
That's right. So just repeating those dates for August. So that's the 6th of August, which is a Tuesday, 6:30 to 9 at the Burriga Hall. Or if you can't make that one and you'd like to come along to the Sheep Show on the 31st of August, which is, I believe, from 9 a.m. in the morning.
Don't look at me. So you've got all the facts and figures in your head, Joe.
So yeah, it's been a really good 8 to 9 weeks so far that we've been in the community, and we've really enjoyed and appreciated all the time that the community members are taking to come and meet with us, either individually or in small groups of 3 to 5 people. Or indeed at the drop-in sessions that we've now had at Black Springs and at Oberon. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, and we're mindful that people have got busy lives and a lot of other kind of things on their plate, and this is just one extra thing that is being thrown in. So yeah, just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's taken the time to meet with us so far, to understand what's going on with the project and give us an opportunity to understand your perspectives and what's going on in your life as well.
There's been one really interesting question as well that I've been getting, or other team members have been getting, which is what would this wind farm potentially look like? So we don't have a layout at the moment, but what we have done recently is we've asked our visual assessment consultant called Maya Landscape Architecture to provide us with just a bit of an example of what a wind farm could look like from the lake in Oberon. So that's at about 16.5 kilometres away from the nearest turbine. So if you're interested in that, that will be shown again at the drop-in sessions, but there's also a little video that shows you that impression on our Facebook page. So
that's right, on the Facebook page.
That's right. If you'd like to have a look at that, feel free to go onto our Facebook page or just contact us again to learn more about that.
Yeah, exactly. Contact at thepineswindfarm.com.au. We can get you even a hard copy so you can head down to the lake and have a look at what that might look like with those example couple of turbines to show the scale at different distances. We've only got a couple more things that we have time to get through, so why don't we jump in and talk. There's been a new community benefits program launched in the last little while. Do you want to take us through that and what else there is available for the community right now?
Sure. So we appreciate that we're now in the community, we're investigating the possibility of this wind farm, and so we really want to share some early benefits with the broader community. So there are 2 key things that we're doing now. The first one is the electricity bill credit. So anyone who lives in the Oberon LGA is eligible for $100 off their electricity bill annually throughout our investigations and planning phase. So that's the potentially 3 to 5 years and starting right now. So what you need to do if you're interested in that is simply submit your electricity bill to us. And we will then make a check to verify your addresses in Oberon, and then we pay that $100 directly to your retailer's account. So there's no need for you to change retailers, there's no need for you to change anything else, and you'll see that as a credit on your next bill.
Yeah, no strings attached. And if you live in a house where you are living off grid, which is fantastic, and a lot of people in the community around Oberon are, then we can organise a $100 voucher for you.
Yeah,
instead.
great.
So
that's awesome, and we've had a really good uptake on that so far. So clearly, I think that's something that is a support or interest in.
yeah, there's a lot of interest in the community, and that's just fantastic. And what else has launched recently, Joe?
So last week we launched our first round of community sponsorships. So that's an early initiative as well, which will be $50,000 a year for the Oberon community.
Yeah, okay. And what kind of organisations are able to apply for that?
So we've got not-for-profits, schools, local clubs, those types of groups, and so we're running it across 2 rounds, so $25,000 now. So
okay, so $25,000 now, and when is the second round? It's
so
it's
for
early
this
next.
one, you have to apply by the 30th of August. So
That's 30th of August,
that's
everyone.
pretty
That's the
soon,
important
next
date.
month. And for the next one, that will be at the end of February 2025. So we're looking to share $50,000 each year throughout that 3 to 5 year process, and that will then increase significantly if the project is successful and goes into construction. So
Yeah.
just
So-
an early way to really share some good benefits with the local groups and
Yeah,
clubs.
definitely. We want to be involved in the community, and all the information is at the website www.thepineswindfarm.com.au, and those grants are $1,000 to $5,000 individual grants, so we'll be supporting at least 5 different organisations in this first round, where the applications close again, Joe, what date?
30th of August.
30th of August.
So get your applications in. There's a form online. There's also a document which outlines who's eligible and what those details are. So if you'd like to find out, please have a look at that, or send us an email directly. What was that email again?
It is contact@thepineswindfarm.com.au. You nearly caught me napping that, Joe. And so finally, like Joe suggested, when the project does move, if the project moves into construction and into operations, we're also really keen to support some major projects, and we've heard some really interesting ideas from talking with people in the community. You know, walking trails, mountain bike parks. Someone even suggested a gondola down to Jenolan Cave. So there's some excellent ideas out there in the community, and we'd be really interested to kind of hear those either on a feedback form from the website, or if you wanted to email us and let us know, or meet us in person and take us through what you think would be a fantastic project for the region.
Great. I've also heard that telecommunications is a big one. So
Oh yeah. Well, it is. I mean, we're driving around.
yeah. A couple of black spots around the place.
Exactly
so,
right.
Yeah,
exactly
I
right.
appreciate that. That's an important issue for the community as well. Great.
So I think that's all we've got time for today. We'll come back and record some more information later. What would be really helpful is if you could let us know if there's any specific questions you'd like us to answer. When we come back next week, we'll start running through some of the most common ones that we've had. But if there's anything that's really specific that you'd like us to kind of cover and release in this format, then yeah, please send us an email. Again, contact@thepineswindfarm.com.au. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to being in the community over the coming years and meeting as many of you as possible.
Sounds great. Same here, and great to chat, Matt.
Good on you, Joe.